As a young child, Sidney Crosby was always putting in the work so that he could achieve his hockey dreams. Now he's an 18-year vet in the NHL and is still an absolute weapon on the ice. Now this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, Sidney Crosby is a one-of-a-kind living hockey legend. We've seen him accomplish so much over his time as a pro, but how well do we actually know him? Here are 20 things you didn't know about Sidney Crosby. Troy Crosby. Sidney's father, Troy, was a goaltender who played for the Junior Canadians in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He helped the team win the 1985 President's Cup, which led them to the 1985 Memorial Cup. Troy Crosby was actually drafted 240th overall by the Montreal Canadiens in 1984, but he never played at the NHL level. He's bilingual. Now, Crosby is from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, but he did play 2 seasons in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And during his time there, he was embraced by Francophone hockey fans as if he were their own. While living in Rimouski, a remote and almost wholly French town of 40,000 people on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River, 300 kilometers east of Quebec City, Crosby knew zero French when he arrived. In a relatively short period of time, however, he elected to learn French to the extent that when he was hauling in all those awards at league banquets, he was able to make acceptance speeches in Canada's second language. Sid's personal life. He often stays out of the spotlight and off social media, but fans still want to know all about his relationship with Kathy Luttner. For more than a decade now, Sid the Kid and Kathy Luttner have been in a relationship. The two met through mutual friends in 2008 and have been going strong ever since. Just like Crosby, Luttner also stays out of the spotlight and off social media, so details on their personal life are unclear. However, she is known for her career as a model. Luttner's modeling career took off when she landed a cover shoot for Fitness magazine. She's gone on to work with renowned brands like Abercrombie & Fitch, Naked, Famous, and Hollister. Who stole his Olympic gear? Russia may not have won an Olympic hockey medal in Vancouver, but they almost wound up with a consolation prize: Sidney Crosby's golden goal scoring stick. After scoring his famous golden goal at the Olympics, Crosby's stick and one of his gloves had gone missing. Crosby's Reebok stick was found after officials thoroughly investigated, watching videotape replays of the gold medal game celebration, and eventually figured out that it may have been shipped to Russia. Hockey Canada also announced it had found Sidney Crosby's missing glove, which he ditched soon after he scored. One glove was flung into the stands, where it was retrieved by a worker at Hockey Canada, and the other was actually mistakenly placed in the equipment bag of Team Canada teammate Patrice Bergeron, who sat next to Crosby in the dressing room. Who is Crosby's favorite player? Following his 1000th game in the NHL, Crosby was asked about the in-game tribute that was played for him, specifically about what the tribute from Steve Yzerman meant to him. And Crosby's response revealed that Yzerman has been giving Sid words of support throughout his entire career. Crosby said, "Yeah, it was really special. You know, he was a role model for me growing up, loved the way he played the game and carried himself. I remember my first year, I was really excited to play against them, and at the time he had an eye injury and he didn't play that night. And I remember getting on the bus after the game and I got a call and it was from him just saying that he'd wish that he'd been able to get out there that night and play against me. He wished me all the best and good luck." That moment, Crosby revealed, "I was always a big fan, but it was just an unbelievable move and a lot of class, and it's something I will always remember." Well, speaking of Red Wings captains, in this next point you'll see Crosby had a different relationship with Nicklas Lidstrom. The Sidney Crosby handshake controversy is an incident that occurred in 2009 during the NHL playoffs. After the Penguins won Game 7 against Detroit, Crosby was criticized for not shaking hands with the opposing team. Now, of course, we all know in the NHL, it's a tradition for players to shake hands after a playoff series as a sign of respect and sportsmanship. Sidney Crosby did shake hands with several Detroit Red Wings players after the game, but the Red Wings captain Nicklas Lidstrom, along with alternate captain Chris Draper and several other significant players, had already gone to their locker room. According to Chris Draper, the act of shaking hands is a way to put the series behind and move forward. He said, "Nick was waiting and Crosby didn't come over to shake his hand. That's ridiculous, especially as their captain, and make sure you write that I said that." There was speculation about why Crosby did not shake hands with the Red Wings, with some suggesting that he was upset about the hit he received earlier in the game, or that he was frustrated with the physical nature of the series. Commenting on the situation, Red Wings legend Zetterberg said, "I think that's one thing you should do. I don't know why he didn't do it, it's disrespectful." When asked to comment, Lindstrom said, "You know, you're happy and you're celebrating with your teammates, but you know the losing team wants to get off the ice too. Sidney was probably caught up in the emotions and everything. I mean, obviously he was caught up in emotions. He just won the Stanley Cup. Is that really so bad? Comment down below if you think Crosby's unsportsmanlike and avoided the handshakes, or if he was simply just celebrating and forgot. Crosby is a history buff. In 2014, Crosby took a college history course online through Southern New Hampshire University, all while notching 28 goals and 84 points. He said he loved the readings, but essay writing, not so much. He first became interested in history while he was volunteering at a local hospital for veterans when he was a kid. Crosby said a lot of guys didn't want to talk about their service as much, but there were some guys who loved talking about it. It was pretty interesting. His multiple NHL records. Crosby became the youngest player in NHL history to score 100 points in a single season, and only the 7th rookie ever to hit that benchmark. Crosby was named Pittsburgh's team captain on May 31st, 2007, which made him the youngest team captain in NHL history at 19 years, 9 months, and 24 days old. The Penguins actually offered him the captaincy mid-season, but he turned it down. In a press conference naming him the team captain, Crosby explained, "I just thought it wasn't right for me. As a team, we were playing great, and you don't want to disrupt things like that. Individually, I was not ready to accept that responsibility quite yet. Going through the playoffs and having that experience has probably given me more confidence. I understand there is going to be a lot more responsibility on my shoulders with this, but it's something I'm ready for. I feel very comfortable with it, and I'm just excited to get things going." Then, when the Penguins met Detroit for the second straight year in the finals, Crosby won his first Stanley Cup title in 7 games at 21 years, 10 months, and 5 days old, making him the youngest NHL captain to ever win the Stanley Cup. Additionally, Crosby is the youngest player to record 200 career points. He's also the youngest player to record 2 consecutive 100-point seasons and the youngest player to lead the NHL in scoring, recording 120 points in the 2006-2007 season at the age of 19 years, 215 days old. Crosby's sophomore season. In his second NHL season, Sidney Crosby built on his rookie success. On October 28, 2006, Crosby scored his first NHL hat-trick in an 8-2 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. His success against the Flyers continued as just over 6 weeks later, on December 13th, he recorded his first 6-point game of his career with 1 goal and 5 assists. This multi-point effort vaulted Crosby into the NHL scoring lead, which he would retain for the remainder of the season. He finished the 2006-2007 season with 36 goals and 84 assists in 79 games played to become the first teenager to lead the NHL in scoring since Wayne Gretzky did in 1980. Being only 19 years old at the time, he became the youngest player in NHL history to win the Art Ross Trophy and the youngest scoring champion in any major North American professional sport. Why does he wear number 87? Well, Sidney Crosby was born in the Grace Maternity Hospital in Halifax, Nova Scotia on August 7th, 1987. So if you actually break that down, he was born in the 8th month of the year, which is August, on the 7th day in 1987. His favorite hockey team. Crosby grew up rooting for the Montreal Canadiens, not only because he's from Eastern Canada, but also because, like we mentioned, his father Troy was drafted by the team. In Sid's rookie season, he scored an unbelievable shootout goal against his childhood favorites. Now that had to be a special moment. The Ovechkin Rivalry. Since 2005, Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby have been the face of the Washington Capitals' Pittsburgh Penguins rivalry, from their dueling hat-tricks to headlining every single graphic and promotion for opening night. 18 years later, they're still enjoying every minute of it. The two of them are at the top of the game and at the top of the league consistently, and I think that's obviously what makes them so special, John Carlson said. The now famous dueling hat-tricks game saw both players score 3 goals in Game 2 of that year's second-round series. While Ovechkin's Capitals ended up winning that game 4-3, they lost the series in 7 games. Those heated playoff wars and unkind encounters on the ice led to speculation of actual dislike between the two future Hall of Famers. But now in their 30s, the two have actually formed somewhat of a friendship. His retirement plans. It's a safe bet that hockey will always be a part of Crosby's life. However, number 87 said he likely won't be following the path of previous greats like Joe Sakic, Steve Yzerman, and Patrick Waugh, to name a few. Crosby said, "I don't know if I want to be involved in the NHL necessarily, but I'd like to be involved in hockey in some capacity. I don't think I want to be a head coach. I don't think I want to be a GM, at least as of today. But I'd want to be involved in hockey. I like the development side." Sid the Kid and the Dryer. The The story goes that Crosby would take aim at the family dryer in the basement, and he actually went on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno to talk about it.
And I used to play in your basement, right?
Yeah, I played in my basement. I had an area that was unfinished, and I turned it into a little bit of a downstairs hockey rink, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, because we have a picture of your mom's dryer. Show your mom's dryer. Look at that. How does that go over with Mom exactly?
Well, I'll let you know everything there. I started shooting pucks in my basement, and that ended up being behind the net.
Yeah. Mom, I swear I didn't do it. I swear. Prove it, Mom.
I started shooting.
Yeah.
And I missed the net a couple times. I hit it, and then I'd hear her upstairs say, "What was that?" You know, and I was like, I didn't say anything. Or I didn't want to. So then after that, she came downstairs and saw it, and I was in big trouble. You know, like she was pretty angry, and I just kept hitting it. And after a while, she didn't care.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, I mean, that took a bad beating there.
Yeah.
This story actually got lost in translation as people believed Crosby would use the machine as a target. However, Crosby admits he only hit the machine when he missed the net. This story became so popular there is actually a children's book about it called Sid the Kid and the Dryer. Living with Mario Lemieux. When Crosby was first drafted by the Penguins in 2005, fans hoped that he would go on to have a career as successful as the Hall of Famer Mario Lemieux. Interestingly enough, the two were briefly teammates, as Lemieux's final season came during Crosby's rookie year. The two not only played together, but they lived together, as Lemieux took the young phenom under his wing and allowed him to stay with his family for the first 5 seasons of his career. While Crosby hasn't talked in length about what that experience was like, you have to imagine that he got plenty of great advice spending that much time around one of the best to ever play the game. Playing in Minnesota. During his midget season, Crosby appeared on the CBC's Hockey Day in Canada telecast. He recalled numerous instances in which opposing players intentionally attempted to injure him, as well as constant verbal abuse from parents on and off the ice. Parents actually taunted and threatened Sidney so harshly he took to not wearing his jersey between tournament games so that he would not be recognized. Due to this treatment, Sidney elected to play for the American hockey program in Minnesota for the 2002-2003 hockey season. In the 57 games he played for the Sabres, he recorded 72 goals and 162 points, leading the team to a national championship. His WHA contract offer. In 2004, the teenage phenom had turned down a reported 3-year, $7.5 million offer from the World Hockey Association. Crosby's agent at the time said he would prefer to spend a second season in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League in hopes of winning the Memorial Cup. Crosby, who was 17 at the time, would have been guaranteed $2 million if he signed the contract. It wasn't an easy decision, and the offer was flattering, Crosby's father Troy said. It was a lot of money. I realize some people might not understand why Sidney turned down the offer, but he has his mind made up right now about where he wants to play. He wants to stick with his plan. Well, I'd say that's a pretty good call by Crosby, because if he signed with the WHA, who knows if he would have gotten this next deal. The richest endorsement deal in NHL history. Back in 2015, the Pittsburgh Penguins star agreed to a 6-year partnership with Adidas that paid him between $1 million and $1.5 million per year. Adidas and Crosby's partnership has a value of an estimated $10.5 million for this deal. Crosbys Superstitions. Now, we all know how athletes can be superstitious, but Sidney Crosby takes it to another level. Here is his list of superstitions. He eats the same peanut butter sandwich at 5 p.m. before every game. He keeps his sticks at his own stall instead of with the rest of the team's. He walks around one specific garbage can in the team's dressing room before going out onto the ice. He's been wearing the same jockstrap since high school. He stick handles through the golden McDonald's arches on the ice before every game. He tapes and retapes his sticks every single period, and no one can touch his stick once he's taped it. He never passes the visitors' locker room on his way into the arena. Before every game, he has a special handshake with Evgeny Malkin. He doesn't talk to his mom or sister on game days because when he's done that, he ended up getting injured. And lastly, Crosby wears the same hat for an entire season without washing it. His nicknames. Crosby has already donned the nickname Sid the Kid, but he revealed that when playing junior, his team actually called him something else. Crosby's nickname at the time was Daryl. My first exhibition game, I got 8 points, and Hall of Famer Daryl Sittler got 10 in the NHL, so they just said Daryl, and it kinda stuck the last couple of years. Crosby also gained the nickname Creature based on the fact that his legs are absolutely jacked. Thanks for watching our videos. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button.